OK， 各位来宾，我们3分钟后就会开始这个会议，谢谢。外面有机器，吧台。
不会，看起来就应该很。
各位贵宾，我们现在就欢迎这个老师们做我们第一场的这个对答论坛，谢谢。
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bennett Fu. I'm now the professor of foreign languages and literatures at NTU, and also I'm the deputy vice president for international affairs at NTU. Today, I really have the honor to be here to moderate the 3 panels. And so it's not my show, so I won't talk too much about myself. But before that, I would like to explain how we conduct the session. For each panel, we have 3 questions for 3 speakers. And for each speaker, he will have 5 minutes to illustrate the questions for the assigned question. And after 5 minutes, the order will be from 1 to 3. I'll later on explain. And after the first round, then we'll go to the second question. Same thing with the second question with 5 minutes for each speaker, leaving 15 minutes for Q&A, because for each panel, we have about 60 minutes. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Professor Lin from Chiao Tung University. And the second speaker, we have Pei Jinling from also the technology industry. And of course, everybody knows Professor Kosnick. And without further ado, let's probably start with the first question. The first question is, please talk about the multidimensional and multifarious developments of creativity in both global and local contexts. Professor Lin, please.
Okay, first I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me here. I'm actually quite nervous. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know the nature of the question. Actually, I looked it up. What is 多元化创新? What does it mean by 多元化创新? So I think my take is that 多元化 maybe means that you have different approaches to a single problem, or maybe in a problem which is multi-layer. It's not a single viewpoint, different perspectives. So I put some note here, and because I am in biomedical engineering, which is pretty hot these days. A lot of industry is trying to go into transform into biomedical related business. So I have some understanding of this industry. The purpose of this healthcare industry is widespread, but the main purpose is to keep people healthy. So here I will read the mission of Medtronic. Medtronic is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're specialized in medical device. And they have a mission that I agree completely. So their mission is to use engineering principle to alleviate pain, to reduce pain, to restore health, and prolong life. So that's their three missions. And I think that's the missions for all the healthcare industry, is to alleviate pain, to restore health, and to extend life. And one of the extreme is to immortality. A very interesting aspect of extending life is immortality. And if you look Google actually has a branch that try to study immortality, how to make people to live to 500 years. So this 多元化创新 medical, the healthcare industry, you can look at it from very basic, from the medical device, from appliances, from drug industry, or from the delivery, the hospital, the clinic. So it's actually a multi-factorial innovation. And if we look at let's look at the very basic medical device, which I'm more familiar with. One of the, I checked the innovation of the year. Innovation of the year 2015. One of the innovation is a leadless pacemaker. So pacemaker is a device that you put in the heart, and that can, when the heart loses the function to automatically beat, the pacemaker takes over and beat on its own, help your heart to beat on a timely basis. And in the old days, there are leads that go into the heart, and the leads can get very contaminated, can all kinds of problem, and over time it mixed with tissue, and you have to extract it. So it's a very complicated procedure, and the most of all is the battery. So the battery, you can imagine that a pacemaker may be in a human body for 5 years. You have to cut the patient open, take the pacemaker out, and replace the battery. Of course, there are all kinds of innovation in the pacemaker, including the wireless charging. Like charging a cell phone, you can actually wireless charge a pacemaker. But the innovation of the year of the 2015 is a leadless pacemaker, which you can, it's like a capsule. So capsule inserted into the heart through a very simple catheter procedure. And then that capsule can pace the heart for 7 years, and also on demand. So there's all kinds of the intelligence built into the capsule. And that's one of the innovation. So the healthcare industry, and I was just talking to the president of the foundation, there's a 医美旅馆, so the hotel industry is also getting involved. So healthcare, from a very traditional view, right now you go into a clinic when you have some disease, you go into a clinic, they treat you, and you come out, again, the three mission, to reduce pain, to restore health, and to extend life. But that's not the goal. Right now, the healthcare industry basically are facing educated consumer. So now the patients go into a clinic, go into a hospital with lots of knowledge of their own problem, of their own heart problem, of their cancer problem. The healthcare industry is facing a very, very educated consumer. So now they have to innovate. They have to deliver according to patients' demand. So from the medical industry or the drug development. So drug development, I don't know how does it fit into the gear, because drug development is a very, very time-consuming process. So on average, when I was in business school, on average, the drug development costs $800 million, and takes 10 years to develop. And I don't know if a gear runs for 10 years, how does it run? So that's a very, very, very problematic, cost-wise or personnel resource-wise. It's very, very problematic. But then with the
5 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
So
sorry, I have to control the time, and maybe for more questions that we can leave it to the Q&A. And the second speaker who is going to respond to this question is Beijing. He's in the nano industry, so probably he has a different take on that. Beijing.
Hi, I'm happy to be here and gladly be invited to speak to all of you. And when we talk about the creativity development, I think the first one we need to look into our life, the daily life. What completely changed your daily life? The first thing you can come up with is the internet, right? The internet, it stimulates and creates a lot of opportunities for creativity development. So when we look into the internet, we see a lot of things are different from the old day and nowadays. So for example, before the internet revolution, you have to, for example, go to the library and copy all the magazines just for doing your homework, or you have to look up the Greek-like dictionary just to check one simple vocab. So these things seems very far from now, and I think for a younger generation, you won't believe what will be the life before the internet. And I'll talk about the internet revolution, and let's take the time back to around 1995. At that time, it's the beginning of the dial-up network system getting more popular. And I still remember when I was a student at that time, and if you get lucky, you can download an MP3 song in around 20 to 30 minutes. But right now you got streaming, and you got very fast speed internet access, so you can download it in less than minutes. And then after 1995, around to the 2000, and that's where when the so-called the dot-com peak and the dot-com wave start to coming out, and there are tons of ISP and web servers are available, and lots of people and just provide a service allows you to browse the internet, and you can do a lot of things. And then later on, you keep evolving, and at around 2005, you will be able to do the so-called Web 2.0. Web 2.0 means you have the interactive user contents which you can provide your own opinion or your own works to build the website. And then right now we have around 2010 till 2015 we have what? We have a mobile internet. So this makes you to have your cell phone doing a lot of things that you cannot do before, and you enjoy the massive data communications and also the exchange to do a lot of things. So I think to check and to evaluate where the creativity development come from, and the most useful indicator is the patent application number. If you look into the patent application numbers, you will find out that currently the patent is filed by the three telecommunication giants. So that's why the internet brought into this creativity development. So for example, the first one is the Huawei, and the second one is Qualcomm, which is Gaotong. The third one is ZTE, is Zhongxin Tongxun. So these three companies file the most patent applications around during these couple years. And so you can see these the information flows and the patent application status, and you will see that all the creativity is very active in this internet industry. And if you specifically look into who filed those patents, you'll find since 2011, China already outperformed United States in patent application filing. For example, like in 2013 or 14, it's more than 800,000 patents filed by Chinese company, but only around 600,000 filed by United States. So what I want to say is there are lots of things going on, and through the information sharing or through the information exchange, everything is going to be global. One people can just use the computer and use the internet, they can get idea, they can do business globally. So even your resources and your business model is for local, you still have to have the global vision. And only the global vision can allow you to build up a successful company.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beijing. And then the third one is to Tom, who will wrap up the discussions beforehand, and then maybe incorporate the gear up approaches to summarize. Tom, please.
Thanks. So what we're going to do is think about the Go Global gear, because remember, to go global, you have to get local in different cities. And this is a framework, please, in Mandarin. So circles of influence is a way that you can think about the ecosystem for innovation in any city. So think about it here in Taipei, think about it in Beijing, in San Francisco, and so on. Players are people who will bet on the new innovation. And if we think about what Professor Peng was saying about medical technology, it's a very different industry. So the players there would not only be lawyers who understood medical technology, there are different technologies involved in the technology to support the pacemaker that are not there for Apple iPhone, right? And then the lawyers also have to understand the government regulation in every single country. It's different. So it always takes longer because it's our health. And so players, stakes are the things they bet. Money, reputation, talent, time, the things that people put at risk, because if they help you as a new entrepreneur and you fail, then it's their reputation that suffers as well. And the code is the way you earn trust. the way you earn trust in every new city. Here in Taipei, it would take me many years to learn how to earn trust in a local way, right? I would have to learn to speak Mandarin your way. I would have to learn to read and write it. I have to learn a lot of things about the code. But what I would say to you is, no matter what industry you're in, if you plan to expand, if you say, first which cities, remember I asked that earlier, then who are the players, what are the stakes, and then how do I earn trust? There are quick 3 questions you can ask when you meet a player. Let's imagine that we wanted to all go to San Francisco, right? And launch our businesses there. Some already have done so successfully, but you'd identify who the players are in Silicon Valley and so on. And you would ask each person 3 questions. Can you think of an entrepreneur from another country who came here who failed? What did he do wrong? Learn from mistakes. Can you think of an entrepreneur who came from another country and has been successful? Products are great, customers love it, we are their partners. What did she do right? How can I learn from the good lessons? And the third is to say, I want to earn your trust. Please help me. Can you advise me what I should do to earn the trust here in this community? And I will be happy to teach you how to earn trust in my hometown. So I'll teach you my code if you teach me yours. If you do that for 10 people, you will learn a lot about the code in the new city. And that's really my main takeaway for this, so we can go to the next. Yeah.
Sure. And of course, creativity needs to be supported by the industrial or like the technical execution. So that leads to our second question, which is, since creativity should be coupled with technical support and execution, how do you track and trace such logics in your industry, Professor Lin?
Chiao University is, I think, is famous for electronics, right? For electronics. So ICT is our advantage, but and also for Taiwan, ICT industry is very, very strong, especially on the manufacturing front. But for medical application, it's quite different. Technology support. The medical is for solving problem. So we want to solve a healthcare problem. And it's not limited to what technology you can use. So I'll give one example. So one time I was talking to an electrical engineering professor. I say I want to solve a certain problem. And he's very excited. He say, okay, let's start it from designing an IC. And that's completely missing the point, because what we want is a reliable way to solve a problem and not to design an IC. But his expertise is in designing IC. So he's very excited to say, oh, this is a new opportunity for me to design an IC. So I usually tell my student, if all you have is a hammer, all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. 你如果只有一个铁锤，那么所有东西看起来都像钉子啊。So you have to develop a very broad view of the problem. You know, there is not solving problem. You have to look at it from the consumer perspective, from all kinds of from the doctor's appointment, and it's not limited to technology. So if you look at the pacemaker technology, for example, it's very advanced. But a few years ago, it's still using the CPU that's in Apple II. I don't know if the young people know anything about Apple II, and that's a very early Apple computer. And the CPU is 6502. That's in my age, and it's still using very, very primitive form. So the medical industry needs very reliable technology because it's in human use. It doesn't have to be very advanced. So the technical, but on the other hand, if you look at the supporting technology, I just recently realized that the glucose test strip, 80% is manufactured in Taiwan. So I was very, very surprised. And there is no shortage of technology support. So if you look at the garment, so one of the case that I'm very, very interested in the smart garment. Smart garment, you wear it, it can measure your physiology, and it fits, and it can washable. And Taiwan is actually making the garment for all kinds of metal wire included in the garment. So Taiwan has a lot of technology, the plastic technology, the chemical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, or the gene, or the biotech industry. It's actually no shortage of, but what I want to summarize is for biomedical field, we are not trying to limit ourselves to a certain technology. You have to look at it from a very, very broad perspective. Electronic is our strength, but doesn't have to use electronics. You can use mechanics, the robotics. You can use all kinds of a replacement technology. Maybe the cost is a concern, maybe the reliability is a concern, but don't rely on one technology to solve your problem.
Okay, and Beijing, like from your perspective, this aspect.
Okay, from these questions, it means you need to bring your creativity into something that is presentable. So what I'm trying to say is, when you have a new idea, when you have new concept, you want to turn it into a real product or something people can evaluate it, you need tools. You need tools to start from the beginning, from nothing to 0 to 1. And the process is called prototyping. And so prototyping is very important, allowing you to examine your idea and your concept. So for those students and younger generations, so what you are learning is all the tools. The tools include software and hardware. So for software, it's all available on the market. So through the renovation of revolution of the personal computers, you got lots of packaged softwares that can help you to do your work and very easily to get a digital forms. And in terms of the hardware, I think we can talk about the manufacturing technology. So basically, there are two main manufacturing methods. One is called the additive manufacturing. The second one is subtractive manufacturing. For additive manufacturing, I think most of people right now heard about is the 3D printing. 3D printing is one of the additive manufacturing methods. And actually, when you first heard about the 3D printing, you might think it's relatively new, but actually it's not. And I think 3D printing had one of the most popular 3D printing technologies called FDM, which is fused deposition modeling, or you can call it FF, it's fused filament fabrication. And so this kind of technology has been invented in, I think, late 80s and by the Stratasys. So later on, when the people get more used to it and the patent expired, and right now lots of people can do this by their own. So that's why we heard about this in these couple of years. So this is the additive technology. What about the subtractive manufacturing? It's the traditional like CNC milling machine or the lathe machine. So these all can help you to do the rapid prototyping. So with these tools, I think doing brought you from the beginning and to showing the prototype it's that those tools have been well established. So yes, I think we do have all the tools that can help us to do the creativity development and the prototyping. Thank you.
Okay, Tom, for this question.
Okay, I see my tech support guy is waiting. Okay, go back. Okay, here we're going to think about what we talked about earlier, customers and delight, and I'll try to illustrate with some of the examples from Professor Lin and also Peter. So, go to Mandarin. So remember, the first gear is paying, and the second is creating delight. Think of the examples where Professor Lin was saying, electrical engineer says, okay, let's do something that I can do. And then Peter was also talking about prototyping. So Professor Lin's saying, don't rely on just one technology. Think of different ones. And Peter's saying, you already have the tools to prototype. You need to learn how to do it. So the blue arrows that are going back and forth are basically saying engineers, salespeople have to go to the place. So, for example, you'd have to talk to heart surgeons. You'd have to talk to the nurses, the anesthesiologists. And I'm trying to think if there are other people in the room. And Dr. Lin, if you want, you could tell who else is in the room when you're having surgery. But and you can show them different types, right? You could have one kind of solution that was based on a device. There might be another solution that was based on a drug. And you can show them before you make a major investment what some of the things that would be possible. And then the medical experts can guide you and help you to understand really what the problem is the patient is facing. So again, think about your own innovations. If you think about the music industry, right? If you're a new artist and you want to get out to the market, what does that mean for you? It means you have to if you're in a band or an orchestra, you have to get the other people in the band to go out and talk to club owners and talk to people who are going to go to concerts and talk to people who run the concerts and find out what's the problem. What do they go through when they're dealing with musical talent? And I think I'm going to give a personal example of actually a doctor telling me about technology alternatives when I had heart surgery in 2000. So I had a leaky mitral valve, and best I can explain, the mitral valve helps to push the blood. Is it into the heart? Yes, I'm looking to Professor Winter. Anyway, had a leaky mitral valve, and the doctor said, you have 3 choices for solutions. One, they can repair it. They just sort of wrap it around itself and tie it stronger. Second, you can use a pig valve. So they go to pigs and they harvest their valves and they put a pig valve in you. And third, you can have a titanium valve, right? The strongest metal. And they said the problem with a pig valve is that it goes, you have to replace it every few years. Titanium is longer, but maybe, I think they said 12 years from now you'll have to get a new titanium valve. I was 50. The doctor said, so when you're 62, you'll have to get a new one, open you up again. And then when you're 74, open you up again. And I went, I think I'd like the repair, right? So the doctors presented the technologies, I chose the repair, and my heart's beating fine, and I haven't had to open my heart again. So, that's it.
Great. Actually, the training of creativity now is pretty much institutionalized. For example, at the NTU, we try to encourage students to do the cross-disciplinary learning. In my freshman English, for example, for engineering students, they have to read The Great Gatsby in English, and I also take them to the galleries, and for different kinds of knowledge acquisition. So when they do engineering, they probably get ideas from, The Great Gatsby or from Picasso's work. And I think when they transit into the industry, they are more equipped. So that probably leads to the third question. Please define and elaborate creativity in your own field. Professor Lin, please.
Yeah, before I go into that, I think, Tom, you have a fourth alternative for your mitral valve. Actually, it's Chinese medicine. Yeah, Chinese medicine can cure you, believe it or not. 最近跟一些中医有一些互动，那就发现中医对于我们心脏病，甚至在心脏里面，它都有一些方式可以做治疗。Okay, so medical industry, as I said, it comes with a purpose, but I don't know what's the delight if you are a consumer of medical industry. 你如果要到医院去你有什么喜悦感？你出来的时候有什么喜悦感？我不知道这是什么喜悦感但是 but there is an alternative saying. It's the need. It's the clinical need. So we are trying to fulfill a clinical need. So clinical need may come from patient, may come from doctor, may come from insurance company. It has all the stakeholders. The specialty of the very, very special aspect of medical industry is that the payer and the consumer are different. So it's paid by insurance company, but the consumer actually don't pay. 尤其现在台湾的健保，你到医院去，你不付这个钱，你不付钱，你只付一个挂号费。那真正的 healthcare, the burden is on the government. So it's a very different industry to look at. The healthcare industry is expanding. So from the aspect, from the perspective of innovation, of creativity, last week I had a small meeting with some media, and they're talking about how to what's the most catchy phrase for consumer. 他说是变美、变瘦变美、变瘦、变用这是3个。所以我们在看这些广告的时候，它让你变美、变瘦，还有变用。我不知道新加坡知不知道什么叫用？这个你也找几位男同胞跟你解释一下那个，OK， 但是如果在广告上面说把你变健康，这不见得有吸引力，要变美、变瘦，还要变用这个很奇怪这 consumer 的，但是这。In all this category, is that medical care? Is that health care? We don't know. But cosmetic is becoming a kind of health care, but it's paid by yourself, right? And then there are some more arguable Medicare behavior, such as cosmetic neurology, something that makes you smarter. If you take a pill and you can be smarter for a day or two, would you do it? Or if you do a surgery that can make you smarter, and not just make you prettier, make you smarter. I think everybody has seen the movie Lucy, right? If you take a pill, you become smarter than everybody else, and that's your competitive advantage. But is that healthcare? So the definition is broader and broader. So as I said before, we are facing educated consumer, and the consumer is coming with more demand. Is not just getting healthier, but actually getting enhanced, right? The function is getting enhanced, so you can be more powerful, you can smarter, you can be prettier. So the industry is broader and broader, and there's a lot of opportunities for innovation. Then for the definition, for the perception, I just want to say, no matter how you innovate, the purpose is just one thing. You want to improve people. So people get into this industry usually with love. I noticed that love is not in your gear, right? It's not in one of your gear. But people come into healthcare industry to innovate. It's a long process. It doesn't guarantee profitability, but people do this because maybe they have a relative who has a bad condition that they feel sorry they cannot treat, or they have parents, they cannot walk properly. So it comes from love, and love is very, very powerful. So in our institute, we try to build this seed of love, so that can sustain a long time innovation or long time sustainability.
That's a very, very strong argument. I think love, without love, creativity wouldn't do too much. It's just a technical kind of manifestation, right? And Beijing, please.
Yeah, thanks, Professor Lin, for the very, very nice summary of this creativity and the love perspective. From my perspective, as an engineering and research background person, what I think the creativity is one part of innovation. And to me, 创新 is more like innovation. And innovation is consists of problem solving, and the second one is the creativity, and the third one is the execution. So because to me, the only thing you can see the thing and evaluate it is what we call the innovative things. So let's go back to examine each the elements. So the first element I'm talking about is the problem solving. Problem solving, when you only when you have the problem or when you have some issue, the difficulties, that make people think. And these problems are referred to, for example, the Tom say the pain from the customer, the pain from yourself, the pain from the people around you. So when you have these pain, these problems, you want to solve it. So the problem solving is the motivation of the innovation. Okay, so you have this motivation, then you start thinking about where's the solution from. And then it comes in the second elements, which is creativity. Because when you have a problem, that means the old system, the old methods will not work. So you have to come up with a new method on the old system or the new ideas to outperform or to cure the problem you couldn't do, couldn't overcome before. So all these new idea, new concepts is called creativity. And then what about the third element, which is the most important one, that's what I think, is the execution. Because when you have this idea, when you have this solution, if you cannot actually practice it, when you cannot actually execute it, you wouldn't see the result, and you wouldn't get the outcome that can show you that it can outperform the previous result, the previous outcome. So I think the execution is much more important to be considered. And so the deliverable will tell you whether your idea, whether your concept is really innovative or not. So I would encourage students or younger generation to work on hands to physically do it, and then you will see the result. So let me conclude with the quote from Nike. Let's just do it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Beijing. And then Tom, please, it's your turn to define.
So creativity happens, and gear up is there once you have identified the pain, right? And then you think about what are different solutions. Creativity is involved in the interaction that we talked about just a little bit earlier. I want to respond to two really important points that Professor Lin mentioned. He said, remember, you also have to go to the insurance companies and the government for medical technology. And if you think about who do you go visit and then who needs to be involved, you need to visit the insurance company and the regulators, and you need people from your company who understand how to speak their language, understand what's going on. I was, for a small time, a co-founder of, it's a technology that could either be used to enhance your strength. It could also be used in medical applications, but we never could get the medical applications approved. If it's just to improve your strength, that doesn't require FDA, but the other ones did. So for example, it could cool down the brain of a stroke victim while en route to the hospital, and then that might reduce the stroke problems. Anyway, I think the first point is this, the idea of stakeholders that Professor Lin gave you is really important. It's not just the customers and maybe the people who are helping them, but it's the payers and the regulators. And the second point, which is very interesting, I'm so glad that love is one of the strong motivations for you and your organization, because if I had included one more slide under circles of influence, we would have said one of the things that is something that people will bet on you is they will bet their hearts. And there's actually a little heart in the center, because you look for people who will, if they're players, you want to look for people who love the idea of the innovation, who love the customers who will benefit, you know, and who are willing to care about you and your team, so they'll be good partners. And from the other side, if you see an innovator coming in, you're going to trust them more if you believe that they love the customers and the channel partners and also love the product, but not to forget that the product is only there in service of the customers and the people who help them. So I'm so glad. I mean, love is without a doubt the most important. And I don't know whether to add a gear or just make sure that I talk about it when we do the circles of influence. Very important. Okay, and then if you think about Peter's problem solving, creativity, and execution, again, the problem solving, you do customers and delight, and execution, you'd have to worry about the team and the partners. Execution would change in terms of going global, right? So all of these gears are involved in this process. Let's go to one thing that Europe doesn't have a creativity gear. The gears help creativity. Go to the next slide. I have a friend, and I'm not sure if someone said Tina Seelig. Did Tina Seelig ever come here? No, okay. So Tina Seelig is a professor at Stanford, and she's written a new book called Inside Out, which is actually quite an interesting read. And she said, well, look, let's think about how you go from a great idea to successful products in the market. And she said that you start with what she calls imagination. And what you do there is you engage with customers and stakeholders and other people and really understand. And then you envision, how could we do that? So that's sort of the customer delight here, right? Then she says, after imagination comes creativity, because you're saying, okay, we want to solve this problem. Let's try some different ways to do it. Let's prototype, let's iterate, let's experiment. The same way you would have to run experiments and clinical trials for medical technology. And then you think you've got something that may actually be able to be sold as a product and so on. Then you say on this one, okay, let's focus. We've decided this combination of technologies will solve the problem and so on. And reframing means looking at it from different points of view. So looking at it from the point of view of the different stakeholders would be a way to think of reframing. And then finally, the entrepreneurship part is just the willingness to keep going, right? Persist, keep going, even though it doesn't always go so well. Inspire, that is the love part. If people know you love them, they'll join your company. If people know you love the customers, they'll be excited about the product and so on. So her definition is the one I would use, but I'd use it in the context of her whole system as well.
Okay, Tom, I think that's a perfect conclusion. And if you think about the word in the forum, creatology, like this is actually a new coined term. It's an ology, it's the way to learn, like the knowledge of learning a discipline. So now, almost like we have to learn how to be creative. And I think that's also the major attempt of this forum is to bring different industries in dialogue and to inspire different ways of thinking, remodeling, unpacking, releasing. And so I think for the first session, they very start up with a very nice format. So now it's a Q&A time. It's good. We have about 10 minutes, and for the Q&A, you can ask in Chinese or in English. Doesn't really matter. And please make the question short to the point. Yeah. Now the floor is open. 可以用中文，没有问题。Yeah, 开。
Well, I just thought I'd get things started. If it's okay, I'll ask in English. Thank you, panelists. Very interesting discussion. I'm personally quite curious about what, I'll say the question first, so that's in short. What each of the panelists are excited about in terms of future innovation technology. Because Professor Lin, you talked about healthcare meeting hospitality. You talked about a broader definition of healthcare. Peter, you talked about where the web was going, prototyping allowing us to quickly and rapidly do the execution bit. And Tom, of course, you talked about a bunch of gear up stuff, so quickly bring idea to implementation. I'm curious about what you personally think would be the next thing. What's exciting you in terms of what's next, or what are the crossroads that would meet, and what would be interesting for everybody here to think about if they're thinking about future opportunities?
Yeah, before I talk about future opportunities, I actually want to emphasize one thing. Let me talk about it in Chinese. 在这个创新的这个论坛里面，我想要讲一点创新的事情啊。我最近听到一个论点啊，当然这个论点不见得很适合大家哈，但是他说为什么国外一直在讲创新？因为他们没有历史。你如果看这个专利呢，你一个专利可以赚多少年的钱？可以赚15年的钱。但是如果你是文化财的话，你可以赚多少年的钱？如果把这个故宫的东西拿出去展，这是几千年的东西，你可不可以赚钱？可以赚钱。这个可口可乐是100多年的东西，可不可以赚钱？它可以赚钱。你如果有个专利，有个创新，他说国外因为没有历史，所以他要不断的创新。但是我们有历史、有文化，我们要考虑怎么样用我们的文化来赚钱。这是在这个 before future opportunity, I want to remind everybody that we have a very strong, very deep culture. So we can use the culture to our benefit, not just following foreigners, footsteps, trying to catch them. But actually we have a very deep culture. So try to take advantage of that deep culture before you innovate. Okay, but for medical industry, the opportunity is actually one thing. The chance favors connected mind. So I want to encourage people to connect together. People with different expertise try to connect, and that's actually excites me more. The reason that I was drawn because my college major was in electrical engineering. But the reason I was drawn into this biomedical engineering is because biomedical engineering is not just one technology. It's actually a microcosm. It's a microcosm of all the technology involved. And you get to use different technology, get to appreciate different aspects in physics, chemistry, biology, and that's what's most exciting. So I think the future is in connected mind, and I welcome everybody to join this circle, and that's the most exciting thing I see.
Any other who would like to respond to this?
Okay, so with what Professor Lin is saying, when you think about let's find ways to have our minds be connected, the technologies that I am most interested in and most hopeful for are those that will allow us to communicate across what we call the triple chasm of generation, gender, and culture. What might that be? What if instead of wearing this, because I don't speak Mandarin, if I had an app on my phone that I could switch, if I'm in Taiwan, it's spoken differently than it is in Singapore if we speak Chinese, and it's different in Beijing, in even Shanghai, the accents are different, right? But what if I could actually hear you, just switch to the city, and then I would understand what's going on. Also, I could practice my Mandarin wherever I go. That would be great. So the first is, okay, triple chasm, generation, gender, culture. So information technology is going to be part of it. Peter's talked to us about the internet and mobile earlier. I think to the extent that innovations can allow us to connect to other people all over the world and to innovate together, more great things will happen. So I'm very much aligned with Professor Lin, and what he's talking about is that what's exciting. I'm also excited about any technology that will prolong my life and make me prettier, smarter, and stronger, right? I'm interested in that too.
Peter, you have any?
Oh, actually, one last thing. We didn't talk about clean tech. In Silicon Valley, we kind of organized the world very broadly into things that have to do with information technology, anything from semiconductor software, computers, and so on, to medical technology, which often has an information technology component, but for example, a drug might not. And then what we call clean technology, so things for renewable energy, energy conservation, so we don't spend as much on electricity, also clean water, clean air, and I'm quite interested in innovations in those kinds of technologies as well, because we need them to protect our planet from us, right? And to keep us keep living on it without wasting too much resource or polluting.
I think Tom just read my mind, because I was trying to think about what will excite me and what will be the future. So it's hard to predict the future. However, I think two directions could be for the long way, for the long direction. Because one is the environmental issue. Because like Tom pointed out, they're more concerned about the environment, the pollution, and people. We have only one Earth, so we have to cure it and save it from the polluted air and the water. So I think the clean technology and the green technology will be the future, and people will spend more and more time and effort into it. And the other thing is, the other direction I'm excited about is the outer space exploration, because I would like to know what else exists, because we are certainly not alone in the universe. So I think that will encourage people to participate in all kinds of technology, in engineering and humanity, and all kinds of things in order to get to there. But I think it will be a long shot. So.
It'll be a great idea to have an alien coming here to protect our environment. Right? The second question, maybe from the students.
如果没有人问的话，我可以问个问题吗？
当然可以啊。
谢谢。就是除了在讲产品或是创新之外，假如各位专家现在主业的公司，除了产品跟你的创新以外，你们觉得最重要的能力应该要具备的会是什么？这个能力可以是学习来，也可以是找一个人才代表这个人力来加入这个团队，让这个团队更有攻击性。但是这个能力会是什么？
That's a good question. It's for the graduating or the students that now here.
Yeah. One thing I want to emphasize to all the students or to all human beings is to pay attention. That's the ability you need. So you pay attention to your environment. 你今天早上坐车子从家里到这边来，你在路上发生了什么事情？ It's full of opportunities. It's full of innovative opportunities. Pay attention to what happens around you. Pay attention. So I heard a story that people take train from San Jose to San Francisco, and he noticed that one day it's raining, and then the bicycle shop, the bike rental is all closed, and people say, oh, it's because it's raining, it's not, what the hell. But this guy actually started a company doing business insurance for bad weather. So that's an opportunity. So pay attention. I think that's something that we are missing. We are just living our days in, days out, but then we are not paying attention to what's happening around you. That's the ability. First ability for innovator, I think.
Or other as they say, like the devil lies in the detail, right? Or the angel, or.
So, but paying attention, if you look around you, some of you are texting. That's not paying attention. Paying attention is being focused in the present moment. And what's made me very sad about internet and social media and mobile is I walk down the street of most cities and people are looking at their phones. So please, take an opportunity to put your phone in your pocket and to look at the people around you and what's going on, and you'll be much more creative than you will if you keep staring into the device. The one capability, in addition to product and so on, it goes back to this idea of love. We call it, one part of what love drives is something called emotional intelligence. Empathy, compassion, being polite, understanding, all of those things, being a good listener, being curious, right? You have to have that. Technologists can very much be that way. You can see a man who's very technical, but who also has a lot of love right here.
It sounds like an Nokia.
If you pay attention to who is sitting next to you, everybody probably is texting now, and that's the whole point, right? And pitching to you.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would like to point it out, like just Professor Lin and Tom said, and the phone and the information technology allows you to communicate with many other people who are not physically around you, but don't isolate yourself. You have to get more interaction and to your people, to your friends, to your family members, because this is how you can get the happiness from. Okay, and to me, get back to the questions. I think the most important capability that essential member has to have in a team is, like I said in this forum, is execution. And so you always have lots of ideas, you always have lots of plans, but without the people actually do it, your team cannot move on. So we love to have people who can actually do the groundwork, do the detailed job, and that will help the company or the team being successful.
Can I add one tiny thing to that? Once a partner from McKinsey & Company, a consulting firm, said, "Tom, are you more creative or are you more disciplined?" Because I had been in the military and he wanted to know, and he said, "Okay, creativity here, discipline there." And I said, "I don't think you should look at it that way. You can be very creative or maybe not so creative, and you can be very disciplined and not so disciplined, and actually great, successful innovators have both creativity and discipline. So you need both to be successful."
Perfectly put. So we are running out of time. I think we are pretty controlled. Discipline. Now we have 20 minutes for the break. 1 hour for the break. And during the break, please feel free. Outside of this building, there are restaurants, and it's lunchtime. And if you would like to have more networking, please feel free just to talk to the speakers if you are shy. And during the 1 hour, please take advantage of 60 minutes and pay attention. Okay, I'll see you in 1 hour. Yeah. Thank you, Tom and Professor Lin.